Long ago, a race of highly advanced humanoids roamed the stars, seeding life on many worlds, using their own DNA as a model to create other life forms, some of which would evolve into interstellar powers, such as humans, Klingons, and Romulans. Another famous species that found their origins in these beings came to be known as the Cardassians, hailing from the planet Cardassia Prime. Before the formation of the modern Cardassian government, they were known as the Habitians, a spiritual culture famed for their art and architecture. They were also known to bury their dead in elaborate tombs filled with jewels, treasure, and artwork. The humanoids of this world evolved to have gray skin, 2 vertical ridges on their neck leading to their head, and a tear or spoon-shaped ridge on their foreheads. They also preferred darker, hotter, and more humid environments. In the 16th century, a Bajoran lightship designed for short-range spaceflight was transported to Cardassia Prime when it made contact with tachyon eddies that created a warp-style jump through space. Unfortunately, the voyage did heavy damage to the ships, causing them to crash land on the Habitian homeworld. And while this was a noteworthy historical landmark for the Bajorans, the later Cardassian government denied these early flights ever took place, until the 24th century when Captain Benjamin Sisko and his son proved the journey was possible, forcing them to admit the truth. Aside from the mineral Jevonite, the Habitians had few resources they could extract from their home planet, and as a result, by the 19th century, were facing widespread famine and disease. The ruling powers were then replaced with a new government led by the military, which would reform their society to ensure its survival. Ruling this newly formed Cardassian government was the Detapa Council, overseeing Central Command, which led the military, and the Obsidian Order, which ran espionage and intelligence operations. Although many were involved in the transition to a new form of government, Tret Akleen was often noted as the father of the Cardassian Union. The drastic reformation within society changed their values and morality, creating a foundation for their new lives based entirely on devotion to the family unit and ultimately the state. The government in turn ensured its citizens were fed and had all that was necessary to thrive. Cardassians came to respect a rigid hierarchy within their culture, often engaging in espionage and underhanded tactics as they ruthlessly competed against each other to obtain power within the structure. As a result, Cardassians were highly suspicious not only of other species but also each other. The humanoids of this world, who were once a highly religious and spiritual people, left that behind when the new ruling power declared a non-theist government. Over the centuries, they became less and less superstitious, believing their own actions determined outcomes, rather than relying on gods or luck. As the citizenry fell into a subservient role to the government, practicality became highly valued, believing that the ends justify the means. Using this philosophy as a guiding principle, their legal system consisted of a show trial in which all criminals were found guilty even before the trial began, and so the televised event was in reality just a way for the prisoner to confess in order to reassure the Cardassian population that the government was always right and criminals were always caught. This unique idea about devotion to the state even influenced their art and literature, as seen in the famous tale The Never-Ending Sacrifice, an epic story spanning 7 generations within a Cardassian family which displayed selfless obedience to Cardassia. Education was also highly valued in their society, with intense mental training giving most Cardassians incredible memories, even attaining sufficient mental discipline to resist Vulcan mind melds. Courtship rituals were based around conversation, with passionate argument and debate seen as forms of flirtation. And while females primarily went into the sciences and engineering, some joined their male counterparts in the military and government. The Cardassian military was known to use surprise tactics, traps, and espionage in their strategies, often creating complex and intricate plans to defeat their enemies. Over the next 5 centuries, the Cardassian Union sent the military to colonize new worlds and systems, gaining access to essential resources and expanding their territory greatly within the Alpha Quadrant. However, as their borders grew, so did their population and need for more resources. By the 22nd century, Cardassia Prime struggled once again with widespread famine, so when the ancient Habitian tombs were discovered, the rich treasures and art hidden away was ransacked by locals. In addition, any relics able to be preserved and held in museums were later sold by the government to feed their population. In the same century, a species of powerful aliens known as the Organians performed an experiment on a group of Cardassians, infecting them with a deadly virus to see how they would react. And while the healthy initially showed compassion for the sick, they eventually killed the infected in order to save the group. although it is uncertain when exactly first contact between Cardassians and humans was established. By the year 2152, both sides were exploring the same areas of space. In the 23rd century, the Cardassian government fell temporarily, allowing for the rise of the First Republic. This period became known for serialist poetry, as exemplified by the author Elogia of Prim, who was eventually exiled to Vulcan. By the 24th century, the Detapa Council was once again in power. However, after so many years of rule, the group began to slide to the background, with Central Command and the Obsidian Order rising to prominence and acting largely as independent powers. In 2319, the continuous need for more resources to supply the Cardassian Union led the military to begin efforts to occupy Bajor, then formally annexing the planet in 2328. Believing themselves to be the superior race, the Cardassians were ruthless overlords, mocking the primitive religious beliefs of the local population while using them as forced labor and stealing their resources. However, the Bajorans were not content to simply live as servants and slaves, creating a rebel movement that used guerrilla tactics and terroristic attacks to fight back against their technologically superior oppressors. By 2369, the Bajorans had done so much damage and caused such chaos among the occupation army, the Cardassians withdrew, granting victory to Bajor. And while the Cardassian Union saw this as a humiliating defeat, it was but one of many 24th century conflicts that would ultimately lead them to utter devastation. Bordering the ever-expanding United Federation of Planets, the Cardassian military became convinced conflict with humanity and their allies was inevitable, and so in 2347, they launched a sneak attack against Setlik III in the mistaken belief that the Federation was building up their forces in the area to attack the Union. This then led to decades of war between the powers, ending in a stalemate until they signed the Armistice of 2367, then signing a formal treaty in 2370, marking a new demilitarized border. As a result of the treaty, several former Cardassian worlds were now under Federation control, and similarly, many former Federation planets were now part of the Cardassian Union. Feeling as though the Federation had abandoned these colonies, many turned to rebellion and terrorism. Using the harsh environment of the Badlands as cover for their ships, the Maquis, as they came to be known, demanded their territories be freed. The Federation, though officially on the side of the Cardassian Union in the conflict, had many who sympathized with the rebels, with some even abandoning the Federation to join the Maquis struggle. In 2370, the Cardassian government attempted to stage a coup on Bajor by supporting the Circle, an extremist Bajoran faction. However, they ultimately failed and were exposed. The following year, they signed the Bajoran-Cardassian Treaty, establishing formal peace and diplomatic relations between their governments. By the late 24th century, the Cardassian Union was in a vulnerable position, having lost much of their prestige and power throughout the past few decades. However, the greatest challenges were yet to face them, as all of the Alpha Quadrant and even the Beta Quadrant came under threat from a Gamma Quadrant power known as the Dominion. When a wormhole was discovered near Bajor, leading to the faraway Gamma Quadrant, many were eager to fly through, exploring the other side and even settling colonies on newly discovered worlds. However, as the Bajorans and their allies spread deeper into the Gamma Quadrant, they came into contact with the Dominion. Ruled by changeling aliens able to assume many forms, the founders were revered as gods by the Vorta, who administered their holdings, and the Jem'Hadar, who fought their battles. As war between the Alpha Quadrant powers and the Dominion became inevitable, a preemptive attack was launched against the Founder homeworld in 2371. This effort was organized by Enabran Tain, head of the espionage agency the Obsidian Order, working with their counterparts in the Tal Shiar of the Romulan Star Empire. However, their secret project was infiltrated by a changeling agent who encouraged this effort so the Dominion might trap their fleet, resulting in a crushing victory for the Gamma Quadrant forces at the Battle of the Omarian Nebula. This devastating loss caused the fall of the Obsidian Order, allowing for military central command to take full power within the Union. Eventually, a dissident movement grew, overthrowing military leadership and establishing a civilian government under the Detapa Council. However, as tensions continued to rise throughout the Alpha and Beta Quadrants, Dominion covert operations were able to manipulate the Klingon Empire into launching an unprovoked attack against the Cardassian Union, justifying their actions by claiming that the recent change in government was a Dominion plot to take control. Despite their alliance, the Federation condemned these actions, and so Chancellor Gowron broke off relations relations, leading to two brief but destructive conflicts from 2372 to 2373, known as the Klingon-Cardassian War and Federation-Klingon War, weakening them significantly when they should be preparing for an invasion. Eventually they discovered that a changeling infiltrator had taken the place of General Martok, who advised Gowron to go to war with the Cardassian Union. In 2373, with the Dominion armies preparing to enter the Alpha Quadrant, Dukat, former leader of the military, made a backdoor deal to ally with the invasion force in exchange for being made ruler of the Cardassian Union. And so when the Dominion fleet came through the wormhole, they made their way into Cardassian space, where they would stage their invasion. Through this alliance, the Cardassians were reinvigorated and made an Alpha Quadrant superpower once again. The Maquis rebels of the Badlands were quickly destroyed, while the Klingons were chased back into their own space, restoring Cardassian territories completely. When the Federation placed mines at the mouth of the wormhole to prevent further reinforcements from the Gamma Quadrant, the Dominion attacked, with Dukat in charge of the war effort, while the Vorda Wayun oversaw his actions on behalf of the Founders. Dukat and the Dominion Cardassian forces successfully gained control of the Federation space station Deep Space Nine, but found the computer system sabotaged and the mines extremely difficult to dismantle. Nevertheless, the Dominion pressed the attack and began seeing major gains, bringing the restored Federation-Klingon alliance to the brink of defeat. However, the Allies realized it was only a matter of time before the mines were disarmed, and so rallied together and engaged in Operation Return, gathering a massive armada to retake Deep Space Nine and regain control of the wormhole. Despite being greatly outnumbered, Federation and Klingon forces were able to create an opening in the enemy line, allowing for Captain Benjamin Sisko aboard the Defiant to make his way through and enter the wormhole, where he negotiated with the powerful, non-corporeal aliens that lived there. These beings had a mysterious but special bond with the planet Bajor and the individual Benjamin Sisko, and so the aliens, worshipped as prophets by the Bajorans, agreed to interfere, causing Dominion reinforcements to vanish as they made their way through the wormhole. Dukat and the Dominion were relying on those ships to help them achieve victory, and so when they saw no reinforcements were coming, quickly fled from the space station and retreated with their forces to Cardassian space. All except Dukat, who suffered a nervous breakdown after his second-in-command, Damar, shot and killed his daughter Zayel, who refused to leave the station with her father. Damar was then made leader of the Cardassian Union, although he became a mere puppet of the Dominion, with the Cardassian government losing all influence, making heavy sacrifices in future conflicts, and were even forced to accept territorial concessions to the Breen Confederacy, who joined the Dominion in the second half of the war. Damar at first simply drank to numb the pain of his people's humiliation, but after reconnecting with his old friend Dukat, came to realize he had to act, and so Damar led a formal rebellion, convincing many to join his cause, and even reached out to the Federation and Bajor, allying together against the Dominion. Unfortunately, a traitor within the new movement revealed their location, and the army was massacred. Nevertheless, Damar went on to lead a citizens' revolution on Cardassia Prime itself, rallying the population to overthrow their Dominion overlords. This occurred at the same time the Federation, Klingon, and now Romulan alliance launched a final attack against Dominion forces in the Alpha Quadrant. After the Dominion destroyed Lakarian City, killing 2 million Cardassians to ensure they remained loyal, it had the opposite effect, and in the middle of the battle, Cardassian forces turned against the Dominion, leading to their ultimate defeat. And so in retaliation, the Founders ordered that the citizenry of Cardassia Prime be wiped out. And while Damar died in battle, his forces successfully captured a changeling founder, allowing for the Alliance to negotiate a formal surrender. Despite the efforts to make Cardassia a vibrant power once more, the Dominion Cardassian Alliance ended in defeat and utter devastation. Having been on the front lines of battle and enduring most of the collateral destruction, by the end of the 24th century, the Cardassian Union was a shell of its former self, forced to rebuild from the ashes of their fallen civilization. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like Jampo the Mad, Grandmaster Pupper of the Took, and Nate Strong the Liberator. If you would like to help CivilizationEx, click on the Patreon link, and please be sure to like and subscribe, and click on the links to see more.